They say success starts with ambition, with grind, with sleepless nights. But before you chase the skyline, look up at the roof that sheltered your beginning, not the bricks or beams, but the man who stood between you and the storm. The most beautiful roof in the world is a father, silent, steady, worn by rain, but still standing. And the most beautiful shade in the world is a mother, soft, unbreakable, covering your soul when the sun of this world burns too bright. Look, you weren't raised by comfort, you were raised by sacrifice. Every meal on that table was a story of what they didn't buy for themselves. Every smile you carry was built on their exhaustion. And here's the truth. Before you build empires, remember who built you. Before you stand on any stage, remember the floor they laid beneath your feet. Because success without gratitude isn't growth, it's amnesia. He doesn't talk much, does he? He's never the loudest in the room, never the one explaining what he feels. But if you listen, really listen, you can hear his story in the silence between his breaths. That roof above your head, the one that kept the rain from soaking your dreams, was built nail by a man who refused to break, even when no one was watching. Every morning he rose before the sun, not because he loved his job, but because he loved you. Those hands that seem rough now once held your entire world without trembling. They fixed what broke, lifted what fell, and built what you would one day call comfort. And look, comfort isn't born. It's inherited through someone's pain. He traded his youth so you could have choices. He carried the weight so you could walk light. Here's the thing. Fathers rarely announce their love. They prove it through exhaustion, through the shoes they wear too long, through the dreams they quietly bury, because yours needed space to grow. When you were sleeping, he was calculating how to make next month work. When you were celebrating your wins, he was already thinking about your next chance. That's the thing about real providers. They don't chase applause. They chase security for the ones they love. I know sometimes he seems distant, maybe even hard. Maybe his words cut deeper than you think they should. But that's not coldness. That's survival. When a man has spent his life holding up the roof for others, his back forgets what rest feels like. And sometimes his silence isn't anger, it's fatigue. It's the weight of 1,000 unspoken worries. Think about it. Every time you walked through that door and felt safe, that was his doing. Every time you had food without asking where it came from, that was his faith disguised as labor. He didn't tell you he was proud. He showed it when he tightened that leaking pipe, when he checked the locks before bed, when he said, "Be careful," instead of, "I love you." Look, we live in a world that claps louder for words than for work. We celebrate the speaker, not the builder. But the roof doesn't need praise to protect. It just does its job, even when no one looks up. That's the beauty of a father. He keeps standing between you and the rain, even when you forget to thank him. And yeah, sometimes you argued with him. Maybe you felt he didn't understand you. Maybe he seemed too strict. But here's the unpolished truth. Structure is how love speaks when the world outside is chaos. He wasn't trying to break you. He was trying to prepare you. His discipline was a form of defense. His rules were shields against a world that doesn't care how gentle your heart is. I've been there. Angry, confused, thinking my father didn't get me. But time has a way of translating silence. One day you start hearing what he never said. You realize every no was a warning, every not yet was patience. Every "you can do better" was faith. You realize that the man who didn't say much was actually saying everything through action. And here's something nobody tells you. Being a roof means never being the center of the house. Everyone looks at the rooms, the walls, the lights, but rarely at the roof. You only notice it when it leaks. That's how fathers live, unnoticed until they crack. And when they do, the whole house feels it. So before you chase applause from strangers, give your gratitude to the man who worked in silence. Real talk. He won't always be there. Roofs wear out. Storms come that no human can endure forever. One day, you'll look up and realize the man who carried your world has grown small, his steps slower, his voice softer. And that's when the weight shifts. That's when you become the support. Don't wait for regret to teach you gratitude. Respect the silent labor. Call him. Thank him. Even if he shrugs it off, say it anyway, because fathers don't need flowers. They need to know their pain meant something. You might think success is earning enough to buy your own house, but real success is building a life that honors the one who built you. When you wake up early and grind, you're not just chasing dreams, you're continuing his mission. When you face your battles with dignity, you're proving that his sacrifice wasn't wasted. Look around. Every comfort you have carries his fingerprints. The chair you sit in, the books you studied, the ground beneath your feet, all paid for in long hours, in back pain, in quiet nights spent worrying about bills. He never complained, not because he didn't feel it, but because he believed you were worth it. And that's the lesson. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it limps, sometimes it just keeps showing up. The roof doesn't shout, but without it, everything collapses. So honor him not just with words, but with your life. Work hard, stand tall, keep your word. Be the kind of person he hoped you'd be when he stayed up fixing that broken fan. And when people ask where your strength comes from, tell them, from a man who never asked for credit, who just kept building, even when the world forgot to thank him. Because one day, you'll be the roof, and you'll understand what it means to hold everything together without complaining. Summary: respect the silent sacrifices that built your comfort. She doesn't ask for much, does she? Just a call, a smile, a moment of your time. But behind that gentle voice and tired smile lives the strongest force you'll ever know. When the world burned you, when people turned away, when even you doubted yourself, she was still there, shading your spirit from the sun that would have scorched you alive. The shade that never fades, the love that never sends a bill. Look, mothers are different. They don't wait for recognition. They don't post their pain for likes. They just keep giving, even when there's nothing left to give. Every tear she hid behind a smile was another brick in your peace. Every prayer whispered in the dark was her way of rebuilding you while you slept. You think you made it on your own? No, brother. You grew under her shadow, watered by her patience, protected by her faith. And I know what you're thinking. Sometimes she talks too much. Sometimes she worries too loud. But that's not control. That's love disguised as concern. She's seen enough storms to know how fast life can flip your roof upside down. So she checks on you. She nags. She reminds. Not because she doubts your strength, but because she remembers the days when you couldn't even walk without her hands guiding your steps. Here's the thing. A mother doesn't stop being a mother when you grow up. Her body might weaken, Her memory might fade, but her instinct never retires. She still senses when something's wrong. She still wakes up in the night without knowing why, and somehow, that's the moment you're out there feeling lost. That's a kind of connection science will never explain. Every success story begins with someone's sacrifice. Behind your confidence was her quiet coaching. Behind your courage was her whispered prayer. She gave you warmth without demanding warmth in return. And when the world ignored you, she made sure you never ignored yourself. She saw beauty in your flaws before you even saw potential in your pain. I've seen men stand tall in the world and crumble when they lose their mothers. Because that shade, that gentle, steady, unconditional shade, once gone, the world suddenly feels louder, harsher, emptier. You don't realize how much she was shielding you until the noise gets too much. And that's when you remember she was your silence in chaos, your calm in confusion, your compass when you couldn't see the road ahead. Let's talk about that rent she never charged. You know what that means? It means she gave everything, not as a transaction, but as a vow. Her time, her body, her peace, all traded for your future. She paid every emotional debt so you could live free. And even when you broke her heart, and you did, we all do, she forgave before you apologized. Because love like hers doesn't keep score, it just keeps giving. Real talk. You might think you've outgrown her, that your success makes you independent. But independence without gratitude is just arrogance in disguise. Call her, sit with her, listen to her stories, even the ones you've heard 100 times, because those stories are your roots speaking. And roots, no matter how deep, still need rain. You know what's wild? She worries about you even when she's the one sick. She hides her pain so you don't cancel your plans. She tells you she's fine because she knows you won't rest if she's not. That's love. Love that refuses to be a burden, even when it deserves to be cared for. When you were a child, her hands were your whole world. They fed you, held you, wiped away your tears. And now those same hands tremble, but they still reach for you. Don't wait for time to teach you what gratitude could teach today, because one day you'll look back, wishing for one more hug, one more phone call, one more chance to say, "Thank you for never letting go." Here's something raw. Your mother saw your worst version and still called you her best creation. She saw your anger, your mistakes, your rebellion, and chose to love you harder. That's not weakness. That's divine resilience. It takes power to keep believing in someone who keeps disappointing you. And yet she did. Not once, not twice, but always. Look around. Everyone wants something from you. Attention, results, performance. She only ever wanted you to be safe. That's it. That's her whole dream. Not your titles, not your fame, your peace. And yet, in chasing everything else, we often forget the one who wanted nothing. So when you sit at your table eating what your success bought, remember who fed you when success was just a word. Remember the nights she stayed up, not for parties, but for your fever. Remember the mornings she walked you to school with eyes that hadn't slept. That's the kind of shade you can't buy. It's earned through love that expects nothing back. And yeah, one day she won't be there. Her chair will stay empty. Her favorite song will echo like a ghost. And when that happens, you'll realize something: all her warnings, all her lessons, all her little sacrifices, they were seeds. She wasn't trying to hold you back. She was trying to build you to last. Don't wait for regret to make you gentle. Be gentle now. Show up now. Because no matter how strong the tree, it never forgets the shade that raised it. So here's your challenge. Every time life burns you, remember her. Remember the softness that rebuilt you, the love that never needed applause. Carry that energy into the world. Protect someone else the way she protected you. Love without keeping count. Give without expecting return. Because that's her legacy flowing through you. A mother's shade doesn't fade with time. It expands. It becomes your conscience, your patience, your empathy. It becomes the quiet voice that says, forgive them, move on, keep growing. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear her still, not in words, but in the way you love, in the way you endure, in the way you give. Summary: her love is the only shelter that never charges rent. Before you walk proud, remember who taught you how to stand. Summary: gratitude keeps your ego in check. When a skyscraper touches the sky, people stare at its height, not its roots. They admire the glass, the shine, the glory, but forget that everything they see above only exists because of what's buried below. That's how life works. The taller you rise, the deeper your foundation had to go. And that foundation, your parents, your mentors, your early struggles, deserves more credit than your applause. The truth is, none of us stand alone. We are held by unseen hands, guided by quiet voices, and protected by sacrifices that never make the highlight reel. Before you walked, someone held your hand. Before you spoke, someone taught you how to form a word. Before you dreamed, someone dared to believe you were worth the dream. But when success finally comes knocking, when you start walking with that confident stride, ego whispers, you did this, you earned this, you made yourself. And that's the moment most people lose their roots. Because gratitude isn't a word, it's an anchor. It keeps you grounded when pride tries to lift you too high. Think about it, the first time you fell as a child, someone ran to pick you up. Someone told you, try again. That's where your strength was born. Every ounce of courage you show now was trained in those small, invisible moments of encouragement. The person who stood behind you when you had nothing, the one who believed in you before you had a name, that's your foundation. It might have been your father teaching you how to ride a bicycle while pretending he wasn't holding the seat. Or your mother silently praying for you while pretending she was just doing dishes. Or a teacher who saw something in you that you couldn't yet see yourself. You see, the world gives applause to the finishers, but God smiles on the ones who helped them start. If you've ever walked confidently into a room, remember, someone once told you that you belong there. If you've ever believed in your own potential, remember, someone planted that seed before you had the courage to water it. Gratitude isn't weakness, it's strength with memory. It's what separates the arrogant from the wise, because the wise never forget the ground they came from. When you remember your foundation, you stop competing with others and start respecting the process. You understand that no one's journey is truly solo. You start seeing your parents' exhaustion, your teacher's patience, your friend's loyalty, and realize those were not small things. Those were pillars holding you up while you were still learning how to balance. But let's be real, life gets noisy. Success blinds us. We start walking faster, chasing more, wanting bigger. And in that rush, we forget to look back. We forget to say thank you. That's when the cracks appear in the foundation. Not outside, inside. The moment you stop being grateful, you start feeling entitled, and the entitled mind eventually collapses under its own pride. So pause, look around. Everything that feels permanent in your life, your skills, your character, your resilience, all of it rests on someone's past effort, someone's discipline, someone's belief in you. That's why gratitude must become a daily ritual, not a yearly reminder. Because every sunrise you see is a continuation of someone's prayer. Maybe your father didn't have the words to say, "I love you," but he built his love into every hour he worked. Maybe your mother never asked for recognition, but she built your courage in every meal, every blessing, every sacrifice she never spoke of. Maybe your first coach or teacher pushed you harder, not to break you, but to prepare you. They were not against you, they were for your future. That's what foundations do. They take pressure, they absorb storms, they stay buried while you shine. So before you brag about your height, honor your depth. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you. It's about remembering where your strength came from when life tests you again. When you hit another wall, don't say, "Why me?" Say, "I've been here before. I know how to stand again because I was taught by giants." That awareness will protect you more than any degree, title, or achievement. It will remind you that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's remembering who helped you become yourself. And here's the truth. When you honor your foundation, you actually become unshakable, because storms can't destroy what's built on gratitude. Arrogance may build higher, but gratitude builds stronger. The ego wants to be admired. Gratitude wants to serve. And in that difference lies the secret to lasting success. Because when the lights fade and applause stops, only those who remember their roots can stand tall without the crowd. So before you celebrate your wins, pause and whisper a quiet thank you to the ones who stood when you couldn't, who saw your worth when you doubted it, who gave without keeping score. That's not weakness. That's honor. That's power. That's the strength that builds nations, families, and legacies. So as you move forward, build higher, dream bigger. Never forget the ground beneath your feet. Because when you respect your foundation, you give meaning to every brick laid before you. You are standing on sacrifices. You are walking on prayers. You are living proof of love that never demanded credit. Never forget where you came from, because the moment you do, you start losing where you're going. Summary reminder: before you walk proud, remember who taught you how to stand. Gratitude keeps your ego in check and your soul unbroken. They stood by you when you had nothing. That's loyalty defined. Summary: never betray those who believed before the world did. Loyalty is a word often spoken, rarely lived. Everybody claims it when the lights are bright. Few prove it when the power goes out. The first lesson of loyalty doesn't come from success, fame, or followers. It comes from the time when you had nothing, no name, no recognition, no proof that you'd ever make it. And yet, there were a few who stayed. A few who didn't need to see the results before they believed in your potential. Those are the real ones. Those are the roots that hold when the storm tries to rip your life apart. Because loyalty isn't tested in comfort, it's revealed in struggle. When your pockets were empty and your dreams sounded foolish, they didn't laugh. They didn't walk away. They said, "Keep going. We'll figure it out." That's loyalty. Not the cheering crowd when you win, but the quiet voice that says, "I still believe in you." when you lose. Everyone wants to stand next to the throne, but who stood next to the grind? Everyone wants to celebrate your victory, but who stayed when defeat made you unbearable to be around? That's your circle, not the loud ones, the loyal ones. And if you ever forget that, life will remind you, brutally, because one of the greatest mistakes a person can make is confusing presence with loyalty. Many people will be around you when you shine, but when the clouds come, the truth begins to separate. The lesson is simple: never betray those who stood with you before the applause began. Think back. Remember the friend who defended your name when you weren't in the room. Remember the parent who gave up their sleep so you could chase your dream. Remember the mentor who taught you for free because they saw something in you that was loyalty in its purest form, quiet, humble, invisible. They didn't post about it. They didn't announce it. They just were there. And you owe them something greater than money or fame. You owe them remembrance. Because forgetting loyalty is the beginning of corruption. The moment you think you did it alone, your success starts to rot from the inside. True loyalty is rare because it demands two things: faith and patience. Faith that you'll grow and patience to wait until you do. That's why the ones who stood with you during your worst chapters deserve to be beside you in your best ones. They saw your potential when it was only a whisper. They saw the fire when the world only saw ashes. Never trade those people for new company that came running after the fire was already burning bright. Because those late arrivals only saw the light. They didn't feel the heat it took to make it. Here's something most people don't realize. The moment you reach success, loyalty becomes harder, not easier, because success attracts opportunists. It brings faces that smile too wide, promises that sound too perfect, hands that clap too loud, but they don't love you. They love the position you hold. That's why you must stay loyal to the ones who love the person, not the picture. The ones who were there when you were lost, not trending. The ones who didn't need your shine to recognize your worth. Loyalty is not blind obedience. It's emotional truth. It's saying, I may not agree with you right now, but I'll never abandon you. It's sticking with people through correction, not just celebration. Your loyal ones will tell you when you're wrong. They'll pull you back when your ego runs wild. They'll protect your soul more than your reputation. That's the kind of loyalty that lasts, the one rooted in love, not benefit. So when you rise, and you will rise, remember to lift those who lifted you. Never let fame make you forget faces. Never let money erase memories, because loyalty repays loyalty, and betrayal destroys legacies faster than failure ever could. There's a saying, the same people you meet on your way up, you'll meet on your way down. It's true. Life has a funny way of spinning back around. So keep your circle small, your gratitude big, and your loyalty sacred. If you promise someone your loyalty, mean it. Don't be seasonal. Don't be loyal when it's convenient and distant when it's costly. Because one day, you'll need that same energy back. And the world doesn't give loyalty. It mirrors it. Look at history. The greatest leaders, the strongest warriors, the most respected figures, they weren't remembered for their riches. They were remembered for their loyalty to their people, to their word, to their principles. Even in silence, loyalty speaks volumes. Even in absence, it leaves a mark. It's the quiet bond that doesn't need constant reassurance. The unspoken understanding that says, I'm with you. not for a season, but for the story. That's loyalty. And if you've been blessed to have even one person like that in your life, honor them. Loyalty isn't about perfection. People will fail, make mistakes, disappoint you. But loyalty means you remember who they were when they gave you everything they had. You don't throw them away because of one weak moment. You stay. You remind them who they are. Because loyalty is the bridge between forgiveness and trust. And if you want loyalty, you must first be loyal. So before you chase more, stop and ask who stood with me when I had less. Because those names, those faces, that's your gold. Protect it. Respect it. Never trade it for something shiny but shallow. When history remembers you, let it say, you didn't just win, you stayed loyal to those who built you. That's real strength. That's legacy. That's the first lesson of loyalty. Summary reminder, they stood by you when you had nothing. That's loyalty defined. Never betray those who believed before the world did. Every comfort you enjoy is a bill your parents already paid. Summary, don't waste what cost them their youth. There's a dangerous illusion many young people live under. The illusion that comfort is free, that the roof above your head, the food on your plate, the education you receive, the shoes you wear, all of it simply exists. But behind every small comfort you take for granted, there's a hidden receipt. And that receipt is written in your parents' sacrifices, in long nights, tired eyes, and dreams they silently buried so you could live yours. Comfort is never free. It's inherited debt. And the currency was their youth. Your father didn't just work a job, he traded years of his body for your security. Every drop of sweat on his forehead was a down payment on your peace. Your mother didn't just cook meals, she poured her time, her rest, her very spirit into every moment of care, moments she could have used to chase her own dreams. You didn't see it because they didn't want you to. They hid the struggle so you could live the story. They covered the cracks in the wall so you could sleep believing everything was fine. That's love. And that's the hidden price of your comfort. When you walk through a clean home, someone already fought a silent war to keep it that way. When you wear new clothes, someone skipped theirs to make it possible. When you study under the light of your room, someone worked overtime under harsh sun or flickering street lamps to pay the bill. Every small luxury you enjoy was once a decision between their needs and your future. And every time they chose you. We live in a world obsessed with self-fulfillment. Follow your passion. Alive for yourself. You owe no one. But the truth is, you do owe someone. You owe the people who made sure you had the chance to even think about dreams. Your comfort didn't fall from the sky. It was earned. It was built, brick by brick, hour by hour, by hands that didn't complain. So before you complain that life is hard, remember, someone already endured harder days so that you could have an easier start. Think of it like this. Your life is a house built by their exhaustion. Your education is the paint they never stopped applying, even when the walls kept peeling. Your peace of mind is the roof they reinforced every time a storm hit their lives. They didn't do it for applause. They didn't post about it. They did it because love, real love, doesn't need recognition. It only needs purpose. And that purpose was you. But somewhere along the way, comfort creates blindness. When you grow up surrounded by stability, you forget what instability looks like. You start thinking the world owes you the same safety you were born into. That's where entitlement begins, when you mistake someone else's sacrifice for your own achievement. You see, every time you waste a day doing nothing, you're spending the currency of their effort. Every time you disrespect opportunity, you're devaluing the price they paid. Every time you give up easily, you're dishonoring the nights they didn't. Your parents didn't fight through exhaustion for you to live casually. They fought so you could live consciously. They may not say it, but their bodies tell the truth. The back pain, the wrinkles, the thinning hair, the sigh when they sit down after a long day, those are receipts, proof of payment, evidence of love that built a life for you. And someday, when life flips the roles and you become the provider, you'll finally understand that every comfort comes with a cost, that every warm bed has a story, that every peaceful night was earned through someone's sleepless one. That's when you'll realize you were never living freely, you were living blessed. Comfort is meant to be respected, not abused. You respect it by working hard, by using it as a launch pad, not a resting place. The worst thing you can do is waste what was bought with sacrifice. When you quit too early, you waste it. When you complain without effort, you waste it. When you disrespect those who built your path, you waste it. Your parents didn't give you comfort to make you soft. They gave it so you could be strong without being broken. So look around. That table you eat on, it might have taken years to afford. That phone in your hand, it might have been purchased by skipping a few of their own small wishes. That education you're receiving, it might have come at the cost of vacations they never took. They didn't tell you that because love doesn't keep score, but you should. You should remember every single day that your ease came from someone else's endurance. That's the real meaning of gratitude, not just saying thank you, but living like you understand the cost. And one day, when you reach success, when you sit in the comfort they dreamed of, never forget the hands that built the first steps of your ladder. Because they didn't just raise you, they invested in you. And the return they want isn't money. It's to see you become a person worthy of their struggle. So live with purpose, work with discipline, honor the price of your comfort. Let your achievements be their rest. Let your gratitude be their reward. Your parents' youth was the down payment for your future. Don't waste it on laziness, ego, or arrogance. Turn it into something that makes their sacrifices make sense. Because the truth is simple. Every comfort you enjoy is a bill already paid. Don't live as if the cost was nothing. Summary reminder: every comfort you enjoy is a bill your parents already paid. Don't waste what cost them their youth. You are the reflection of their prayers and their pain. Summary live in a way that makes them proud to have raised you. Every human being carries a mirror, not the one that shows your face, but the one that shows your upbringing. That mirror is your character. And when people look into it, they see more than you. They see the people who raised you. Your kindness is your mother's echo. Your discipline is your father's legacy. Your patience, your manners, your choices, they all tell the story of the hands that shaped you. When you walk into the world, you don't just represent yourself. You carry the reputation, the struggle, and the prayers of the ones who gave you everything they had so you could have a better chance. Character is not something you're born with. It's built quietly through years of observation. When you were small, you didn't learn values from lectures. You learned them from watching. You saw your father keep his word, even when it cost him. You saw your mother forgive, even when she was hurt. You saw them work hard, not for applause, but out of responsibility. And those moments carved lessons into your bones. That's where character begins, in the unseen, the ordinary, the unspoken. They didn't just raise you to survive, they raised you to represent them long after they're gone. But here's the truth most people forget. You can't separate yourself from where you came from. Your actions either honor your parents or erase them. When you lie, cheat, or speak without respect, you aren't just damaging your own image, you're staining the mirror of those who raised you. Because every time you walk into a room, someone is quietly thinking, who raised this person? That's why true maturity isn't about money, power, or status. It's about remembering that your behavior is a living reflection of the values that built you. Your parents didn't just feed you, they poured their morals into you. They prayed for your safety, your success, your goodness. They prayed not just that you'd become someone, but that you'd become someone worth being proud of. And those prayers weren't just words. They were whispered with tired voices, tearful nights, and trembling hands. They were made when they didn't know how the bills would be paid or whether life would give them the peace they deserved. But they prayed anyway. You are the answer to those prayers. So don't live in a way that makes their faith feel misplaced. The mirror of character is fragile. It takes years to build, seconds to shatter. Every choice you make polishes it or cracks it. You polish it with honesty, discipline, humility. You crack it with arrogance, deceit, and disrespect. And when you look into that mirror, you should see more than your reflection. You should see the story of sacrifice that brought you here. If you live carelessly, if you forget where you came from, that mirror begins to fog. But when you live with integrity, with gratitude, with heart, it shines again. Remember the small things they taught you. Say thank you, not because you owe it, but because gratitude keeps you human. Speak gently, because the tone you use shapes the energy around you. Show up on time, because reliability is respect in action. Help others, because generosity keeps your spirit alive. Those weren't random lessons. They were the building blocks of a name they hoped you'd honor. Because one day, when they're not around, the only thing left of them in this world will be you. Your choices will speak their language. Your goodness will keep their memory alive. You see, people often chase success to prove themselves, but real proof lies in your character. Money can make you powerful, but only character makes you respected. Fame can make you known, but only values make you remembered. When you speak with truth, when you treat others with kindness, when you stand firm in your beliefs, even when no one's watching, that's when your parents' sacrifices find meaning. That's how you say thank you without words. There's a moment every child faces when you finally see your parents not as superheroes, but as humans. You notice the tired eyes, the unspoken fears, the quiet strength that carried them through. And that's when it hits you. They weren't perfect, but they tried. And your job now isn't to judge them. It's to continue what they started. To take the lessons, polish the mirror, and make it shine even brighter. Because character doesn't end with one generation. It's passed forward. And when you raise your own children someday, they'll mirror what they see in you. So the reflection continues from prayer to prayer, from pain to pride, live in such a way that if your parents were to hear your name in a crowd, they'd smile quietly and say, "That's my child," not because you're rich or famous, but because your heart still carries the values they worked for. That's legacy. That's reflection. That's the true reward of their sacrifices. So don't dishonor it with smallness, with gossip, ego, laziness, or cruelty. Stand tall, walk straight, be humble, because every time you do, their reputation stands taller too. And when life tests you, when you're tempted to take the easy way out, look into that invisible mirror and ask yourself, would they be proud of me right now? If the answer is no, change your reflection. If the answer is yes, keep polishing it. Because one day, long after they're gone, someone will meet you and say, "I never met your parents, but if you're their child, I already know they were good people." That's when you'll understand the real meaning of inheritance. Not money, not property, but character. The mirror you carry is sacred. Keep it clean. Let it show the beauty of their prayers and the dignity of their pain. Summary reminder: you are the reflection of their prayers and their pain. Live in a way that makes them proud to have raised you. Your degrees, your fame, your wealth, none of it matters if they sit forgotten. Summary: honor at home is greater than applause outside. There's a silence that follows success, and it's louder than any applause. It's the silence of a parent sitting alone while their child is out proving to the world what they already sacrificed for. See, the world will tell you that success is about being seen, being celebrated, being recognized, but real success, it's measured by who still recognizes you when the lights go out. The trophies on your shelf don't warm your parents' hands. The likes on your photos don't fill their loneliness. Success becomes hollow when the ones who raised you are reduced to memories you visit out of guilt. You can build empires, but if you forget the foundation, the roof begins to crack. You can chase crowds, but if you can't sit quietly with the people who gave you your start, you've already lost your way. Look, I'm not saying don't chase greatness. I'm saying don't forget the faces that clapped for you before the crowd arrived. Because success without humility becomes noise, loud, shiny, meaningless. Your father doesn't care how many followers you have. He cares if you still call him. Your mother doesn't care what awards hang on your wall. She cares if you still hug her when you visit. They don't want your money, they want your presence. They don't need your gifts, they need your gratitude. You see, the truest measure of success isn't how far you go, it's how deeply you remember. It's whether you can stand on the highest stage and still bow your head when you walk through their door. I've seen people climb high and lose their soul on the way up. They get addicted to validation, to praise, to performance. They start believing they built everything alone. But here's the truth: no one climbs alone. Behind every degree, there's someone who believed before you believed. Behind every victory, there's someone who prayed when you couldn't see the path. Behind every success story, there's a pair of tired hands that never stopped holding on for you. And that's the part the world doesn't see, the quiet, unseen success that made your success possible. Real success is silent. It's not on magazine covers. It's in the way your parents smile when they see you've become someone kind. It's in the way your name carries respect, not just fame. Your mother doesn't brag about your wealth. She brags about your character. Your father doesn't boast about your title. he boasts about your integrity. Because what matters to them isn't how big your life becomes, it's whether your heart stayed big while chasing it. You can have everything the world offers and still be poor if your parents' blessings don't travel with you. Because there's a kind of wealth that can't be bought: peace. And peace comes from living in alignment with gratitude. When you succeed, they don't expect repayment. They just hope you haven't forgotten the sound of their voices. They hope your success didn't turn into distance. So before you celebrate your achievements, pick up the phone, tell them thank you. Visit them not for photos, but for presence. Because every time you make them feel seen, you're feeding the roots that made your wings possible. The truth is, the applause of the world fades quickly. Today they praise you, tomorrow they move on. But the people who love you without reason, they're permanent. The world measures success by the spotlight, but your parents measure it by the light in your eyes. They can tell when you've lost yourself, even if the world still calls you a winner. They can feel when your success has become heavier than your happiness. And sometimes they'll just quietly pray that you remember where peace truly lives: at home. Look, real talk. What's the point of being celebrated by strangers if the people who raised you are left behind? What's the point of inspiring millions if you've stopped appreciating the two who inspired you first? True success isn't when the world claps for you. It's when your parents can finally rest, knowing their sacrifices weren't wasted. Because success that cost you your roots isn't success. It's separation dressed in gold. There's a story every successful person needs to tell themselves: the same hands that once fed me still deserve to be held. And if your hands are too busy counting money to hold theirs, you've misunderstood the meaning of winning. You see, the measure of a man isn't what he earns, but what he honors. And the measure of a woman isn't what she achieves, but what she remembers. When you honor home, everything outside aligns naturally. When you neglect home, nothing outside can fill the emptiness that follows. I know you're busy building, creating, proving yourself, but pause sometimes. Success can wait. Love can't. Your mother's voice won't sound the same forever. Your father's steps will slow one day. And when that time comes, no achievement will comfort you like the memory of being present. You'll wish for one more meal, one more laugh, one more ordinary day. So while you still can, show up, because every visit is a thank you note written in time. Every hug is a payment of gratitude that no amount of money can replace. So what's the true measure of success? It's not applause. It's alignment. It's knowing that the people who built your beginning can look at your life and whisper, "We did good." It's walking into your childhood home and realizing you don't feel out of place, because no matter how high you climb, you still know how to kneel. Real success doesn't make you bigger than your roots. It makes you more grateful for them. So the next time you're standing on that stage, with lights flashing and hearts cheering, remember the quiet faces behind your story. Remember the roof that never complained, the shade that never faded. Because success isn't what you earn, it's what you honor. And the true success of all is this: that the people who raised you can finally rest under the shelter of your gratitude, knowing they are no longer forgotten. Summary reminder: your degrees, your fame, your wealth, none of it matters if they sit forgotten. Honor at home is greater than applause outside. Life moves in circles, not straight lines. You think you're running forward, chasing dreams, chasing names, chasing numbers, but one day you'll stop. You'll look behind you and see the same faces your parents once saw, small, hopeful, fragile, looking up to you like you're the roof of the world. And in that moment, it'll hit you. Everything you once took for granted is now your responsibility to give back. The same patience you ignored, the same love you didn't thank them for, now it lives in your hands, waiting to be tested. One day, your child will watch the way you handle struggle. They'll see the way you speak when you're angry, the way you treat the people who can't help you. They'll copy your silence, your habits, your kindness, or your cruelty. Because children don't listen to what you say, they watch who you are. And what they see in you will become what they become. That's the circle of life, not just of blood, but of behavior, of legacy, of unseen inheritance. When you were young, you thought your parents were invincible. You thought their hands could fix anything. Their words could protect you from everything. But the truth is, they were scared too. They were tired too. They just didn't show it because they didn't want their weakness to become your fear. That's what real strength looks like: silent, unseen, unpraised. And now, it's your turn to understand that same weight. The circle turns quietly. The child who once cried for comfort now wakes in the night to comfort his own child. The girl who once leaned on her mother's shoulder now becomes a mother herself, learning the sacred exhaustion of love that never clocks out. You start realizing that love isn't loud, it's daily. It's the 100 invisible things no one claps for. It's working when your body wants to quit. It's smiling when your heart is tired. It's giving when there's nothing left to give. And if you're lucky, you'll start to see what your parents were really teaching you. Every sacrifice wasn't just about your survival, it was about your preparation. They weren't just feeding you, they were shaping you. They weren't just paying bills, they were paying the price of your foundation. They were building someone strong enough to one day hold others the way they held you. But here's the truth most people never face: the circle doesn't wait for you to be ready. One day, without warning, you'll wake up and realize you've become them. The protector, the provider, the voice that must stay calm when everything around you shakes. And in that moment, every memory of your parents will come alive again, not as nostalgia, but as instruction. You'll finally understand why your father stayed quiet when he was angry, why your mother smiled when she was hurt. You'll finally understand that they weren't superheroes. They were humans carrying the weight of a world they never complained about. And that understanding, that empathy, will change how you live. You'll stop blaming them for what they couldn't do. You'll start thanking them for what they still managed to do. You'll stop wishing they were perfect and start realizing they were powerful in their imperfection. Because life is not about becoming flawless. It's about continuing the cycle with more awareness, more heart, more gratitude. You see, the circle of life is both a gift and a warning. It's a gift because it gives you a second chance to become the love you once received, to fix what you once misunderstood. But it's a warning too, because if you don't honor what you were given, the circle breaks. Neglect becomes inheritance. Disrespect becomes culture. Silence becomes distance. What you do not heal, you hand down. So ask yourself, What kind of circle are you building? Will your children feel peace in your presence or fear your silence? Will they see you pray or only see you stress? Will they learn that love is patience or that love is pressure? Because they will carry your answers long after you're gone. You can't control how the world treats you, but you can control how you treat the next generation. You can decide that your family story ends with more forgiveness, more truth, more dignity. You can decide that your children will never feel unseen the way you sometimes did. That's how you honor your parents, not just by saying thank you, but by becoming better because of them. And one day, when your hair turns gray and your steps grow slower, your child will do something small but powerful. They'll bring you a glass of water. They'll turn off the fan because you're cold. They'll hold your hand in silence, not out of duty, but out of love. And in that quiet moment, you'll realize the circle has completed itself. Everything you gave came back. So remember this: what you give to them now, they'll give to you later. What you plant in their hearts, they'll water in yours. You are living proof of someone's love. Now it's your turn to become someone else's. That's the true beauty of the circle of life. Not endless repetition, but endless redemption. There comes a point in every journey where the noise fades and the truth stands alone. You've chased success. You've built your name. You've fought your battles. But when the dust settles and the spotlight dims, one question remains: what did you carry forward? Because your legacy isn't what you earn, it's what you keep alive. Parents don't just raise children, they raise legacies. Every story of struggle they told wasn't about the past. It was a blueprint for your future. Every prayer whispered at midnight wasn't for themselves, it was an investment in you. They didn't raise you to be rich. They raised you to be right. They didn't raise you to be famous. They raised you to be faithful. Their dream wasn't your comfort. It was your character. And now the time has come to seal it with power. Power doesn't mean dominance. It doesn't mean control. Real power is continuity. It's when you take the love that built you and make sure it keeps building others. It's when you become the living proof that their sacrifice wasn't wasted. It's when you walk through this world with the kind of grace that makes people ask, "Who raised you?" That's legacy. See, a man's name fades, a woman's beauty fades, but the way they loved, that lives forever. The tone of your father's voice when he called your name, the warmth of your mother's hands when you fell sick. These aren't just memories. They're echoes of eternity, and your duty is to make sure they don't die with you. When you speak with honesty, you carry your father's integrity forward. When you forgive quickly, you carry your mother's mercy forward. When you fight for what's right, you carry both their spirits forward. Because the legacy of love is not about monuments. It's about manner. It's not about inheritance. It's about influence. The real heritage is not the gold they left behind. It's the goodness they planted inside you. And if you ever wonder how to honor them, don't just visit their graves, live their greatness. Finish what they started. Heal what they couldn't. Break the curses they had to live through. Speak the truth they were too humble to shout. That's how you carry their love forward, by being the proof of their purpose. One day, someone will ask your children about you, and their answer will depend on how you answered your parents' legacy. Did you multiply their wisdom or waste it? Did you expand their love or bury it under pride? Did you stand for something greater, or did you only stand for yourself? Because legacy is not taught, it's transferred. The way you speak becomes the language they'll use. The way you love becomes the rhythm they'll follow. The way you show up for family becomes the standard they'll measure loyalty by. That's why love must never stop with you. It must travel through you, stronger, wiser, cleaner. You are not the end of their story. You are the continuation. You are the next verse of a sacred poem written in sacrifice. And every time you do something noble, their souls rise with pride. When you hold your child for the first time, remember your mother's arms. When you work late for your family, remember your father's long nights. When you choose patience over anger, remember the quiet endurance that raised you. That's not nostalgia, that's alignment, that's legacy breathing through you. And maybe, just maybe, that's what immortality really means. Not living forever, but living through forever. When love becomes a lineage, when grace becomes generational, when someone you'll never meet still feels the warmth of the roof that once covered you. So seal it with power, not the kind that breaks walls, the kind that builds bridges, the kind that turns memory into mission. Speak their names with pride. Tell their stories without shame. Let the world know that your success was not self-made. It was family-made, faith-made, struggle-made. Carry that truth everywhere you go. When you win, thank them. When you fall, remember them. When you rise again, rise with their strength, not your ego, because no matter how high you climb, the ground beneath you will always be their shoulders. This is your crown moment. Not when the world claps, but when you finally understand the weight of love that shaped you. When you realize that every ounce of wisdom in your veins is borrowed light from their stars. When you understand that you are not the product of perfection, but the miracle of persistence. So go ahead, seal it. Seal it with power. Seal it with forgiveness. Seal it with gratitude. Seal it with the promise that their love will not end with you. Let your legacy be more than wealth. Let it be worth. Let it be warmth. Let it be a reminder that greatness without goodness is emptiness. One day, when your time comes to rest, and your children gather to speak your name, may they say, "He remembered. She honored." They carried it forward. Because love once given never dies. It only changes hands. And the highest purpose of a child is to make their parents immortal through the life they live. That's not just legacy. That's eternity, sealed with power.